Over the last 7 years, I've read and edited hundreds of complete medical school applications. And today in this video, I want to share these 6 red flags that I've noticed and your dream medical school has certainly noticed too. And if you know them early, you can avoid these 6 red flag mistakes that lead to tens of thousands of rejections every single year. I'm Mike. I trained at UCLA Medical School and am now an anesthesiology resident in New York City. Over the last 7 years, I've helped thousands of premeds just like you get into medical school. The first red flag is academic probation and dishonesty. And while it is a huge concern, it actually won't automatically bar you from getting acceptance. There are certainly levels to institutional actions. If you're caught drinking in your dorm, written up by your resident assistant, and having to disclose it on your application, honestly, that's much more common than you think. Did you copy an assignment from a study guide on Chegg? Also, not the most rare thing. In fact, you Google any physics question and Chegg is often the first thing that pops up. Did you cheat on an exam or plagiarize an essay? Now, this is where character starts to come into question and you're in a little bit of hot water. Of course, institutional actions are also nuanced when it comes to their timing. A mistake that you made first quarter as a freshman while you were transitioning thousands of miles away from home, that feels very different from the junior who is 2 months from applying on their no gap year timeline, who was just put on academic probation for cheating on their neurology upper division course. Now that timing feels like you're not ready to be a medical student. And if you have an institutional action, control what you can. You can't hide or delete it. You can only own it and take responsibility for the decisions you made in your past and the decisions that you made ever since then to this day. So truthfully, institutional actions are a great opportunity for you to demonstrate growth and maturity. It's a place and platform to show medical schools that you can bounce back from pretty serious mistakes. And seeing a pre-med demonstrate that level of responsibility is very refreshing and very encouraging to medical schools. And if you don't believe me, one of our mentors, whose application we review here in this video, he had an institutional action and still got into a top 5 medical school. Again, you can see their application breakdown here. And for other examples of successful medical school applications, you can see 8 full applications in our application database linked in our description box below. These are the exact applications that were accepted to top schools like UCSF, UCLA, USC. And there are multiple in there that feature institutional actions. The second red flag on an application to medical school is having 0 real hours. Just to explain, the medical school application process opens in the spring of the previous year because the entire application takes about 9 months. And because there are 9 entire months between when you submit your application and when you get accepted or enroll in medical school, the AAMC allows you to write anticipated hours or the things that you imagine you'll be doing in that 9-month span. The problem here is that many premeds have extracurriculars that they're depending on to really make a difference in their application. However, by the time they apply 9 months early, they barely put any hours into that actual extracurricular. And so when it's time to apply and write about these extracurriculars, they don't really have much to say because they haven't experienced it. It ends up looking like a job description for a job that you've never really done. And while yes, you can certainly send update letters midway through the cycle, there's no real guarantee that those letters will ever be read. I personally am very conservative when it comes to medical school admissions because it's a high stakes competitive process. And it's my belief that if you aren't competitive at the beginning of the application cycle, you likely won't be competitive at the end of it. Here's an example of a medical assistant position that is essentially all anticipated hours. And please don't forget that medical schools don't actually care about the quantity of hours. That's a soft proxy for what they really care about, which is the quality of time spent there. If you sat at the nursing station for 400 hours just transferring phone calls, that doesn't really tell me anything about you. If you think that it shows that you're committed to medicine, not really. What you are committed to is sitting and suffering at a front desk. That's in contrast to Ben, who's featured in our application database. He spent 50 hours leading an independent research project studying epilepsy in siblings so that families could have information on whether that epileptic disease was hereditary or not. That project helps with family planning and means a ton more than the 400 hours sitting at a desk. There is no bigger red flag than the extracurricular activity that has 3,000 hours and zero impact. A third red flag is submitting your application late. Premeds who are serious about applying to medical school know the deadlines. And of course, they know rolling admissions is real. If your application is evaluated earlier in the cycle, there are simply more seats for you to be considered for. As you get later in the cycle, those seats shrink and adcoms have to be much more particular about who they accept. And so they save these last seats for the absolute best applicants they can find. And while that may be you, it's also more likely not to be you. If you're a numbers guy or gal, think of it this way. There's 100 seats at the beginning of the cycle, and as you go deeper in the cycle, that number goes to 20, 10, 5, 1 seat remaining. And no matter how competitive you are, there's much more chances that you earn one of 90 seats than one of 5. You're setting yourself up for failure. This is an uphill climb, and certainly medical schools don't feel prioritized when you submit your application 3 months late. Red flag number 4 is not researching the school and not understanding the mission and culture of the program. Not every school is looking for the same pre-med. You must know how the curriculum is built and what they prioritize as a campus. And how do you find that out? Well, you talk to real students and you talk to real faculty members that are a part of the program. Intentionally learn how the school fulfills its mission statements and what programs they care about the most. You separate yourself from the rest of the pre-med pack because every year pre-meds are copying and pasting the same Why Us essay to 10 different schools, and all they're doing is changing out the name of the school, if that. Everyone can smell it from a mile away, and so if you are applying to a school, know why specifically you are applying to that school. You need to know exactly why you would be a good fit for them and exactly why they would be a good fit for you. It goes both ways. And of course, if not, your laziness will transform into red flag number 4 and your application will be thrown away just like the other tens of thousands every single year. Researching medical schools is actually so important that it is a huge part of our application cycle advising program. Tens of thousands of pre-meds don't know how to find someone on campus to talk to. They don't know what questions to ask so that they can better understand the program. And as a result, their written application sounds generic and uninformed, just like tens of thousands of pre-meds every single year. If you're interested, reach out to us in the contact information in the description box below. And if you're applying, we'd be honored to support you. If you find this video helpful, you may find our application cycle advising valuable too. Red flag number 5, a lukewarm letter of recommendation. If a letter of recs can say nothing but your grades and how nice of a person you are, not only does that letter not help you, it actively hurts you. Letters of rec are the only piece in the application cycle that you are not directly in control of. And so if those materials are neutral and don't advocate for your explicit acceptance to medical school, it is very easy to take your application, move it over to the rejection pile in favor of all the other applicants who have strong letters of rec. Do not overlook that part of your application. Do not assume that suddenly your professors will write the strongest letter of recommendation off of a mediocre relationship, and take that part of your application seriously. It can be where you make the most separation from other pre-meds. And red flag finally, number 6 is a terrible interview. The interview is the final stage of medical school admissions, and its role is to give medical schools an opportunity to get to know you. And what they want to know is no secret. They want to know why you want to be a doctor and why you want to go to that exact school. It sounds ridiculous, but after doing mock interviews every single year for multiple years, I cannot tell you how many pre-meds are surprised when I ask them this question. In addition to those foundational questions, make sure you know your application better than anyone else. For goodness sakes, you wrote the dang thing. And during your interview day, let your personality show and build a human connection with a person across from you who's just trying to get to know you. One thing that we've noticed is that non-traditional students who have taken some time off and have some more real-world experience, are often far more comfortable in these professional settings. Often, they don't have this overly anxious, neurotic type of energy. There's this level of poise and maturity that comes with experience. These premeds, they smile, they joke, they're engaged. And altogether, it projects the image of a professional. And even if you're not a non-traditional pre-med or someone who has taken multiple years off, you can get here with a ton of practice. And soon, we'll be doing full breakdowns of real mock interviews so you can learn the exact tips and tricks to follow when you are doing your own interviews. Those are the 6 big red flags that I've seen in the last 7 years of reading full medical school applications. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.